He saw it with his own eyes. His fiancée slept with her ex during a family trip. And the most shocking part? Her own father told him to be generous. What would you do if you were in his shoes? Let's dive into this gripping story. And don't forget to support us by hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Noah Gray didn't stand out at the party, except for his calm face and the kind of eyes that truly listened. He wasn't good at small talk, and he never really fit into the polished conversations of the upper class. But he was someone who kept his promises. Someone who knew how to bring calm where there was chaos. In love, he didn't believe in fiery passion or dramatic storms. He believed in holding someone's hand through life's quiet, ordinary moments. Leah Knox was nothing like him. She belonged to a different world, one where luxury was the default, and every decision was shaped by appearances. As the daughter of Gregory Knox, a wealthy businessman, Leah grew up under constant scrutiny and the weight of high expectations. She had rebelled before, fallen for the wrong people, and paid the price with years of cold distance from her own family. Among all those mistakes, one name stood out in bold: Caleb. The Leah-Caleb love story once lit up social media. He was reckless, manipulative, a walking red flag, and yet he made Leah believe she was in love for real. But it all came crashing down when Gregory Knox discovered Caleb was involved in shady investment deals. Leah was dragged back home, forced to end things, and vanished from the internet for half a year. Noah came after it all. No drama, no judgment. He simply stayed by her side, quiet, steady, and never once asked about Caleb. Lake Tahoe was the destination for a 5-day family getaway, arranged by Gregory Knox himself as a pre-wedding bonding ritual before the big day next month. The rental villa sat right by the lake, with sweeping views of the snowy mountains. Everything inside was oak and natural stone. Nothing was missing, except for the genuine comfort of those in attendance. Noah felt out of place the moment he walked through the gate. The Knox family greeted him with polite smiles, cordial glances, and a subtle air of superiority that made him constantly adjust the collar of his dress shirt, trying to look like he fit in. Leah seemed much more at ease in that atmosphere than he was. She moved effortlessly between groups, chatted with the chef, nodded at the housekeeper, and occasionally glanced back at him with a soft smile, like a quiet reassurance. "We're okay." On the first night, Gregory hosted a small garden party at the villa. Soft jazz played in the background, wine flowed freely, and the menu was crafted by a head chef flown in from Napa Valley. Noah tried his best to join in, making small talk with Leah's mother, Vivian, about the weather and the upcoming wedding plans. Right then, a voice rang out from behind, arrogant, self-assured, even though it was the first time Noah had ever heard it in person. "Long time no see, Leah." Noah turned around. Caleb. No doubt about it. He was wearing a crisp white blazer, hair slicked back, those piercing blue eyes carrying the smug awareness that he was disrupting some delicate balance, and clearly enjoying it. Leah froze for just a moment when she saw Caleb, just 1 second. Then she offered a polite smile. "Caleb, it's been a while." Caleb stepped forward and shook hands with Gregory Knox. "Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this new partnership." Gregory beamed. "You're a reliable partner. I figured it was time you got familiar with the family atmosphere a little early." Noah said nothing. He just nodded, trying to swallow down the wine that suddenly tasted a lot more bitter. The awkwardness began to spread like ink leaking into a glass of clear water. Caleb spoke to everyone as if he'd never been at the center of a messy public scandal. He talked about business trips, investments, and connections, slipping Leah's name into the conversation with carefully veiled remarks. Noah noticed Caleb's eyes never once shied away from Leah. On the contrary, they sought her out, deliberately. And what stung more was that Leah didn't look away either. When Caleb stood beside her and handed her a second glass of wine, Noah felt a chill crawl up his spine, even though he was standing right next to the fire pit. He stepped back a few paces, slipping away from the lively circle of laughter and chatter. Beneath the soft music and flickering firelight, he realized the one thing missing from this party was the truth. And he wasn't sure he was the only one who noticed. Noah quietly made his way back to the bar, a spot where he could stay out of sight, but still watch everything unfold. Leah was still talking to Caleb. They were standing too close, and Caleb's gaze wasn't hiding anything. He looked at Leah the way a man does when he's already crossed a line, and wouldn't hesitate to cross it again if invited. Noah took another sip of wine, but the bitterness on his tongue wasn't from the alcohol anymore. It was the taste of suspicion, of a gut feeling he didn't want to believe, but couldn't shake. Caleb told stories like a man who held the upper hand. When Leah laughed at something he said, he leaned in, lowering his voice just enough to make her tilt closer. His hand rested on the back of her chair, not touching her. But still, it felt to Noah like he was being pushed out of his own relationship. Noah walked over, silent and steady. He set his glass down on the table beside them. Leah noticed him, startled for a second, then gave a nervous smile. "Where'd you go? I thought you were talking to my dad." Noah gave a slight nod, his eyes fixed on Caleb. Didn't want to miss such an interesting conversation. Caleb raised his glass. "Still interesting as ever, though it seems we've got an extra pair of ears now." Leah quickly jumped in. "We were just talking about the hotel project, Caleb suggesting some tech upgrades." "That's so?" Noah kept his tone neutral, neither sharp nor soft. "Sounds like something better suited for a boardroom than a family gathering." Caleb shrugged. "Family's where people learn to negotiate. You might want to get used to that." Noah turned to Leah. "You okay?" She hesitated for a second. "It's just a conversation." The perfect answer. Polite, unquestionable, but it lacked the one thing that mattered most: certainty. A sudden chill swept through the garden, making the string lights between the trees sway in the wind. The party atmosphere began to thin out. A few guests excused themselves, while the rest drifted toward the portable heater by the edge of the lake. Leah turned to him and whispered, "I've got a bit of a headache. I'm going back to the room for a while." "I'll come with you." "No need. I just want to call my mom, check on a few wedding details. I'll be back soon." She turned and walked quickly down the path leading to the main villa, never looked back. Noah stood there for a few seconds. Caleb poured himself another glass of wine, saying nothing. He didn't need to. Noah turned and headed for the room, not rushing, but he couldn't stay out there any longer. The second-floor hallway was quiet. Their bedroom door was ajar. The bedside lamp was still on. Everything was neat, still. Outside the window, the lake was pitch black, the reflections of garden lights shimmering like a staged version of peace. The only thing out of place was Leah's phone left on the bed. Noah stepped closer. The screen lit up just as he reached it. A new message had come in. "Are you sure about this?" Sender Caleb. No nickname, no emoji, no punctuation. And yet it was more than enough to shatter the silence inside Noah. He picked up the phone, didn't unlock it, didn't check anything else, just stared at that single line like it was some kind of code. "Are you sure about this?" It wasn't just a question. It was a reminder that whatever had been between them wasn't really over. Noah tightened his grip on the phone, then slipped it into his pocket. He turned and walked out of the room, closing the door behind him with a soft, almost inaudible click. The party might still be going, but he knew something had just begun, and it wasn't part of any wedding plan. Standing alone in the dim hallway, Noah didn't move for a few seconds. His hand remained clenched around Leah's phone in his pocket. Every step from this point on carried a weight he wasn't ready to face, but couldn't avoid anymore. He opened the personal device sync app they had set up when they bought matching smartwatches. A tiny glowing dot appeared on the villa's property map, nowhere near the main building. The signal came from behind the pool area, near the row of secluded cabins reserved for VIP guests or high-profile partners. Only one cabin had its lights on. Noah didn't rush, but he didn't stop either. There were no clear accusations running through his mind. No rehearsed confrontation, just that bitter, metallic taste, cold, sharp, and lingering longer than it should. When he got closer, the door wasn't locked. The polished brass handle reflected the soft glow of the light inside. He knocked lightly. No answer. But there were voices. Soft, close, not meant for a third person to hear. He pushed the door open. Pause. 3 seconds. "Now you tell us, what do you think Noah saw when that door swung open? Let us know in the comments. Is your imagination innocent? Or just a little twisted?" Leah spun around. She was standing in the middle of the room, buttoning up her white shirt. Her hair was still slightly tousled. Caleb was sitting by the bed, his blazer draped casually over the back of a chair, a half-finished glass of wine in his hand. No one said a word, no shock, no scrambling, no denial. Just a moment frozen in time between three people where the truth didn't need to be spoken aloud. Noah didn't step inside, he just stood there at the doorway. Leah clenched her fists and took a deep breath. You didn't deserve to see this. Noah kept his eyes on her. Then what did I deserve to see? Caleb stood up, adjusting his collar. This isn't the time for heroes and villains. You should shut up. Leah turned to him, her voice low and dry. Noah didn't look away from her. How long? Less than an hour, she said without blinking. Just once. I slipped, but I wasn't gonna stay. You slipped, Noah repeated slowly, and he was the ground? Leah bit her lip, her eyes began to well up. I don't love him. I felt like part of a family for a few minutes. Something I haven't felt all year. But I still choose you. I still want to be the one beside you. Caleb let out a quiet laugh and set his glass down. That sounded like the final line of a really bad soap opera. Get out. Leah snapped around. Leave. Now. Caleb shrugged, slipped on his jacket, and walked past Noah without a word. When the door shut behind him, the room was left with just the two of them, and a silence heavy as stone. Noah stared at Leah for a long time, as if searching for some sign that this was just a nightmare he hadn't woken up from. You can yell at me, or hate me, but please don't go quiet, Leah said, her voice cracking. Noah didn't yell, he didn't hate, and he didn't speak. He just looked at her, eyes stripped of the warmth she once knew. All that was left was exhaustion. After a few seconds, Noah took a step back. He turned away. The door clicked shut behind him with a soft snap. But to Leah, it echoed like something breaking deep inside her. The night wind swept through the villa corridor, colder than usual. Or maybe it only felt that way because Noah felt so hollow. There was nothing left to keep him warm. He didn't go back to the room, didn't return to the party, didn't ask Leah another question. He walked straight to the parking lot, where the sedan he'd rented at the airport was parked, and began packing. The suitcase wasn't heavy, but every time he zipped it closed, it felt like sealing away something he once believed would last. Behind him, footsteps approached. Not hurried, not rushed, but loud enough to make sure he heard. Gregory Knox. You're really planning to leave? Gregory's voice was low and steady, like he was discussing a business deal, not the collapse of his daughter's engagement. Noah didn't turn around. I don't think there's any reason to stay. Gregory took a few more steps, stopping just behind him. I know what happened between Leah and Caleb hurt you, but we're adults. You can't let one moment of weakness ruin everything you've built. Noah tightened his grip on the suitcase handle. What future exactly? You have a stable job. Leah has status, a name that carries weight. Together, you could build a life people envy. Don't let one impulsive mistake destroy all of that. Noah slowly turned to face him. The yellow porch light cast every tired line on his face into sharp relief. You think this is an investment deal? A calculated risk worth taking, as long as the return justifies the damage? Gregory sighed, not denying it. I think a real man knows when to forgive, for the sake of something bigger. Noah looked him straight in the eye. I've already forgiven a lot. The quiet condescension from your family, the dinners where I was only referred to as the engineer boyfriend. And now, you want me to swallow betrayal too, just to look mature? Gregory said nothing. Not because he lacked arguments, but because he knew that in this moment, reason meant nothing to someone who had just lost the one thing that mattered most. Trust. Noah opened the car door. I don't need anyone to teach me how to love, but if love means I have to endure just to be accepted, then I choose not to love anymore. He got into the driver's seat. The phone in his pocket buzzed once, probably Leah. He powered it off, no hesitation. The engine roared to life, headlights cut through the dark toward the exit. Behind him, Gregory still stood there, saying nothing more. Noah drove away from the resort. Not in a rush, not running. Just leaving, the way someone steps back when they realize they're no longer truly wanted, only kept around for appearances. Inside the car, silence stretched like a storm with no thunder. And for the first time in years, Noah wasn't sure if he was driving toward freedom or losing something he'd never get back. Leah stared at her phone for the 27th time that day. Still nothing. No texts, no missed calls, No sign that Noah wanted to hear anything from her ever again. She had texted him that very night, the moment she returned to the room and found it empty. 3 messages, 1 long, 2 short, then 5 calls. No answer, just the familiar voicemail tone, cold and distant. In the days that followed, Leah kept texting. At first, apologies, then explanations. Eventually, just little fragments of thought, random stories, updates, anything, just so he'd know she was still thinking about him. But everything disappeared into silence. She didn't dare call again, afraid she'd already been blocked. Gregory never asked about Leah and Noah. He said just one thing the next morning, when Leah returned to the main villa with red, swollen eyes: "Don't let emotions ruin what you're capable of achieving." She didn't reply. Because she knew he never really cared about anyone's emotions but his own. Then a month passed, no word from Noah, no sign from the world he now belonged to, until her own world began to crack. Caleb was exposed in a federal financial investigation. A fake investment fund, undocumented capital, falsified reports, and Gregory Knox's name appeared on the list of implicated partners. The media ran with it. Gregory's face was all over the morning financial news, cold, stiff, refusing to comment. Leah watched every article, every news segment. She wasn't surprised, but it still stung, not because Caleb had been a fraud, but because her father, the man who always told her to choose wisely, to surround yourself with the right people, had put his trust in the very person who had once hurt her the most. That night, in a study buried in paperwork, Leah walked in and tossed a folded newspaper onto the desk. "Do you know why I could never marry someone you chose for me?" Gregory looked up. "Not now. No, exactly now. I didn't love him enough to lie to him. But you'd lie to the whole world if it served your interests." Gregory clenched his fist but said nothing. Leah continued, slower this time. "I'm moving out. As for the wedding, cancel it. If you need someone to blame, blame me. But don't you dare mention Noah's name in any public apology. You're destroying yourself." "No, I'm finally starting to live honestly." 3 days later, Leah moved out of the Knox estate. No farewell party, no goodbyes. Just a suitcase, a handbag, and an old private driver silently taking her to a rented apartment on the east side of the city. She started looking for Noah. No social media accounts active. Emails bounced back, his phone number disconnected. She even reached out to a few people in tech who had known him. No one had any clear answers. Noah had vanished from every radar she knew. Not a single trace. As if he had closed the last door and thrown away the key for good. And Leah? Every morning she woke up with the same question. If she ever found him, would he even want to hear anything from the person who once made him walk away without a word? One sleepless night, in the middle of yet another long stretch of quiet inside her small apartment, where the only sounds were the hum of the AC and the weary glow of a yellow lamp, Leah found herself scrolling through Noah's old blog. It hadn't been updated in over a year, but when she reached the bottom of the page, she spotted a link. CareTech, technology that connects the elderly. The link led to a simple website. No flashy logos, no polished banners. Just a few humble photos, elderly people sitting in front of tablets, their hands trembling as they tapped icons to call family members. There was a single line beneath them. "We don't teach technology. We just help the elderly feel a little less left behind." The contact email belonged to a familiar name, a former colleague of Noah's. Leah sent the message at 1:47 a.m. 9 hours later, she received a reply. "Noah volunteers 3 times a week at the Greenfield Nursing Center in Oregon. If you're looking for him, you can come on Friday. Just don't make a scene." Friday morning, Leah stood in front of the Greenfield Center. No flowers, no dramatic outfits, no grand gestures of reconciliation. Just a simple gray sweater, jeans, and a heart still struggling to figure out how to move forward from everything that had happened. She stepped into the main lobby, where a small whiteboard had been scribbled on with marker. "iPad class, room 3. Instructor, Mr. Gray." Noah stood in the middle of a square-shaped room, sunlight slanting in through the large window. He wore a rolled-up shirt, glasses perched on his nose, patiently pointing at the screen for an elderly woman with silver hair trying to make a video call to her grandson in another state. No need to press hard, just a gentle tap, like you're brushing a baby's cheek. The elderly woman giggled, and Noah smiled. A soft, effortless smile that somehow still carried warmth. Leah stood quietly at the doorway. It had been so long since she'd seen him like this, simple, steady, and kind in a way no one ever forced him to be. He noticed her the moment he turned to grab a charger. Paused. But there was no surprise, no tension, just a heaviness in his gaze, like someone seeing something familiar return, but unsure if it still belonged. "Wait for me to finish this class," Noah said, his voice even. Leah nodded. No rush. Over 40 minutes later, they sat outside on a wooden bench overlooking the back garden. Neither of them spoke at first. The air was crisp, touched with the faint scent of lavender. Leah clasped her hands tightly, then let go. "Are you okay?" she asked. Noah kept his eyes straight ahead. "I'm okay." A quiet pause. "And you?" he asked. "I'm not sure, but I'm learning how to stand up again." Noah gave a small nod, like someone listening without making promises. "I didn't come here to apologize again, or to beg for the wedding back. If there's still even a small part of you that isn't completely closed off, let me step into that space, not to continue, but to start over." Noah turned to look at her for the first time. There was no anger, no blame, just the eyes of someone who had once believed deeply and was now learning to choose where to place that belief again, more carefully. "I didn't think you'd find me," he said. "I wasn't sure either," Leah replied with a tired smile. "But I knew I had to try." The breeze passed through, so gentle it felt like nothing had changed. But Leah knew. Sometimes the only thing you need to do is sit beside someone for a while, in silence, and not leave. The evening wind drifted softly through the garden behind the nursing home, carrying the scent of damp earth and the rustling of old trees. Leah remained still beside Noah, her hands clasped loosely in her lap, eyes lowered to the moss-streaked tiles beneath their feet. After a while, Noah spoke, his voice steady and measured, as if he'd weighed every word before letting it go. "I won't marry someone who's asked for forgiveness." Leah turned slightly toward him, but didn't react. He continued, still looking ahead at the lavender bushes in front of them. "I can only move forward with someone strong enough not to beg. No convincing, no proving. Just someone who stands on their own because they know who they are." It wasn't a sentence, it was a condition. Not cruel, but not soft either. Leah nodded, offering no argument. Then no wedding, no rings, no white dress, no champagne toasts. She paused. "But if you're still somewhere in this life, I'll be the one walking beside you. No title, no timeline, just me, real." Noah turned to her. He didn't smile, but the doubt in his eyes had softened, replaced by the calm of someone who had weathered storms and was now quietly waiting to see how long the skies would stay clear. "Then don't make any promises," he said, his voice low. "Just, if one day you realize you no longer want to keep walking, stop before someone gets hurt." "And if I still want to keep going?" Leah asked. "Then I'll be somewhere along that road," he replied. "We'll find each other again, if we both still remember why we stayed." There was no hand to hold, no embrace. They simply sat side by side, two lives, recently crossed again, sharing a moment quiet enough that no explanation was needed. Leah stood up first. She turned back and looked at Noah one last time. "Thank you for not closing the door all the way." Noah didn't reply, but the slow nod he gave her, that was enough for her to carry with her. As Leah stepped out of the nursing home, the sun had just dipped halfway beneath the horizon. The soft evening light cast a golden glow on her hair, stretching her shadow long across the brick path. For the first time since Lake Tahoe, Leah smiled. Gently. Just a little. But it was real. Not because everything had been forgiven, but because she knew she was starting over, with nothing in her hands, except faith in herself. 6 months later, Leah stood on a small stage at a conference center in North Seattle. The lights weren't too bright, and the room held just enough seats for 200 people. But the atmosphere carried a quiet kind of gravity, much like the people in attendance, seasoned, scarred, and trying to begin again in their own way. The event was called Second Window, a community initiative aimed at supporting those who had stumbled in their careers, finances, or personal lives. A space where they could receive guidance, learn new skills, and re-enter the world with their dignity intact. Leah was the founder, and today was the official launch. She wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled into a low bun. Her voice was steady, clear, carrying no forced emotion, but every word bore the weight of what she'd lived through. "I don't think any of us were born to be perfect," she said, walking slowly across the stage. "I think we were born to learn, from our falls, from our bad decisions, from the people we've let down. And sometimes the hardest part isn't earning forgiveness from others. It's learning how not to hate ourselves." A round of applause filled the room. Leah paused for a moment, not to soak it in, but simply to take a breath. "This project isn't for people who want a fresh start so they can erase the past," she said. "It's for those who understand their past will always be there, but it doesn't have to define them forever." In the dim light at the back of the room, Noah sat in a row near the emergency exit. Gray shirt, jacket folded over his knees. He didn't clap. He didn't bow his head. He didn't glance around to see if anyone noticed him. He just watched the stage, where the woman he once loved, once walked away from, and once found again, stood before 100 strangers, telling a story that never said his name. But somehow, every word felt like it was meant for him. After the event ended, Leah stepped backstage. Her shoes ached from standing too long, but her gaze remained steady. She unclipped the mic from her shirt, closed her eyes for a moment, trying to slow a heartbeat still racing. When she opened them, Noah was there. No announcement. No one called his name. Just his eyes, like they were 6 months ago, calm, without promises, but saying more than any words could. There was no hug, no question to start with. Just Leah walking toward him slowly and Noah holding out his hand. She took it, hand in hand, no rush, no rings, no music playing in the background. Just Leah speaking, not loudly, not trembling, just one clear sentence. "I'm choosing you, not to make up for the past, but to move forward together." Some mistakes can't be erased, some wounds can't be undone. But sometimes the most precious thing isn't the chance to start over. It's finding someone willing to walk beside you, even when you're no longer whole. Leah and Noah didn't go back to the starting line. They moved forward from where they left off, with the scars still there, with trust needing to be rebuilt, piece by piece. And maybe that's what real love looks like, not when everything goes smoothly, but when both people choose to stay, even when they have every reason to walk away. What about you? Have you ever left a relationship only to realize that what you needed wasn't someone perfect, but someone who wouldn't leave you while you were still imperfect? Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have the courage to forgive or to choose again if that love once broke your heart? And don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next story, where every choice is a second chance.